everyone. Thank you for joining. We're happy to have Justin with us. And Justin came before in the relationship panel, and he gave us amazing insights and amazing hope. So we say we wanted more of this. And today Justin is going to be sharing with us some insights and some tips about emotion regulation. We talked about emotional intelligence before in a session before, which was an amazing session. They kind of complement one another. So I would leave it to Justin to take it from here. Go ahead, Justin.
Thank you so much, Abuna. It is truly an honor to be here. This is my home. This is my church, the church that has given me so much and raised me. So I'm happy to kind of give back and share some information with you. So shall I start by sharing my screen?
Yes. And do you want me to share, Justin, do you want me to share the survey in the chat?
Yes. I was going to put up the code as well on my screen, just in case if people haven't seen it. Cool. I see that we've been getting, we have 11 people so far that have signed up, which is great. So let me just share this. One second. Okay, so you should. Do you see the screen says go to menti.com, enter the code?
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. Okay, so I know that we don't have that much time. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know it's just another Zoom call kind of thing, but this is very special. So if you get a chance right now, go to menti.com. If you haven't already, put in the 8-digit code. It used to be like 6 digits, and then just keep increasing the digits. Fill out this quick survey. It's anonymous, so if you fill it out, I won't know what you said. I won't know that it's like who said what kind of thing. But the really nice thing is that we get to see the results of this survey live. So I'm going to look at them in a few minutes. Also, if you go to menti.com and put in the code, you can use this site to ask anonymous questions. So whenever I give presentations, my favorite part is actually the Q&A. I love questions, so don't hesitate to ask me as many questions as you want about anything. It's my favorite part. So feel free to ask me questions while I'm talking, or ask me, just unmute or whatever and ask at the end if you'd rather. But if you want to ask anonymously, so people don't know that it's you who asked the question, maybe the question is a little bit sensitive or it's personal or whatever, you can ask it anonymously here and I'll get to them. And the cool thing too is you can see the questions that I didn't answer yet. You can like them if you think that they're great questions, kind of thing. So it's pretty neat. I'll give you about a minute or two for those who are joining us just now to check out the menti.com, and then we'll start in a second. Wow, 20 people already. This is great. And of course, these questions are optional. You don't have to answer them. You can always skip a question too. And if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, please feel free to skip this understandably boring silent part. That's what I would do.
People will probably think we lost connection there for a second.
Let me just be frozen and confuse people. But as we're going, I'm reading some of the questions that you're asking me, and I'm really excited for these. So let's see. So most people have almost finished answering. So why don't I just start? But feel free to finish answering while I go forward. So today I'm going to talk about emotion regulation, in particular, how to increase your emotional intelligence. So as Abuna said, Bessem, the wonderful Bessem Gohar, he gave a talk on emotional intelligence, and Bessem is a great friend of mine. So I was really happy to see him and to watch his talk. So all the stuff he said, throw it out the garbage because he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm just kidding. No, he does know what he's talking about. He's wonderful. He's intelligent. He's a tenured professor. He's great and great person. I'm going to build on what he shared. So I tried to cut out as much of the fat as possible in my presentation that overlaps with what he shared, kind of like we'll have to do after the Holy 50 days. So I'm going to focus as much as I can on sharing with you some tips on how to regulate your emotions a little bit more. So first, I just want to introduce myself because maybe you know me as, just another guy from church, but this is who I am on a professional side. I'm a therapist, so I call myself Justin the Therapist, but you can call me whatever you want. I did my degree, my undergrad at Mac, go Marauders, right? With Aki, he was there, he's wonderful. And then I did my first master's at York in social and personality psychology. I studied cultural psychology and how different cultures and religions can impact our psychology. Very interesting stuff. And then I did my second master's at the University of Guelph, and that was in couple and family therapy, which is what allowed me to become a registered psychotherapist where I can help people. So feel free to, connect with me on my social media accounts. I also started my own group practice named Building Bridges Psychotherapy because we help people connect with what's most important with them. This is our wonderful, diverse team of therapists, and some of these faces may even seem familiar. We help individuals, we help couples, we help families. So we do individual therapy, couple therapy, family therapy, and we have a location in Mississauga and Guelph, Vaughan, and obviously remote. And of course, please connect with us on social media if you are interested in therapy. All right, so that's me, that's my practice. Now I'm really excited to get to know you. But before, one more thing about me. Yes, I have all these degrees behind me. Yes, I'm wearing this suit, but honestly, if you could see, I'm wearing shorts, basketball shoes, same shorts I was wearing like 2005 playing in the gym. So, you don't have to be too intimidated or anything like that. Now, I want to get to know you. So let's see the results. Oops. Okay, so. Thanks for filling this out. I wanted to know how old you are. I like to know the age range. Looks like most of you are in your 20s. Some of you are a bit older in your early 30s. Looks like there's a lot more women than men today. Understandable. A lot of single and looking. That's really nice. I hope the activities today will help you kind of continue to mingle. So what are you hoping to get out of today's presentation? Obviously, I cannot read everything here out loud, but I did check some of them out. I will talk a little bit about spirituality and faith and how that relates a little bit to emotional intelligence and emotion regulation. There are some questions about controlling your emotions, questions about relationships in particular. There's a lot of things that you are asking about that's wonderful. I may not be able to answer all of them, but please, if you have a specific question, feel free to ask me at the end. So I was curious about how things were for you growing up. And it looks like in terms of how encouraged you were to express your emotions, most of you were somewhere in the middle, maybe a little bit on the discouraged side. So families maybe discouraged you from expressing your emotions. And I also was curious about if you were taught that we can and should control our emotions. Again, a lot of us were somewhere in the middle, but also very strongly agree on that. I asked, growing up, I was taught that intense emotions can be a distraction to living healthily and righteously. And we just got another vote there. And yeah, it looks like most of you agree that you were taught that emotions can be a distraction from living healthily and righteously. So that's quite interesting, but I expected that. And growing up, I was taught that there are some emotions you should ignore and suppress, or that you should never ignore and suppress your emotions. And it looks like most of us are somewhere on the more ignore and suppress emotions side. Growing up, I was taught that if I'm feeling unwanted emotions, such as like sadness and anger, turning to God will help me change how I feel. So it looks like most of us are on the positive side. Yes, that's what we were taught. It's a nicely skewed distribution. Growing up, I was taught that girls are more emotional and boys are less emotional. Looks like, again, most of you were taught that girls and boys are different in emotions. Okay, very interesting. So how much do you know about emotional intelligence? Looks like you know, most of you know a medium amount, understandable, since Bessem gave that great talk, which is good. How important is emotion regulation to you? Looks like it's very important to most of you. That's wonderful. I mean, that's why you're here, so I'm happy to talk about it. So this question I was really excited to ask: is your ability to emotionally regulate more genetic or more environmental? Like, is it something that we can learn, or is it something that we're just born with? And it looks like a lot of you feel like it's somewhere in the half, like in the middle, like halfway born, halfway something you can learn. And that's also what Bessem did share in his presentation. And that's reflective of what the research finds. All right. So how good are you at regulating your emotions? We've got like a nice spread here. So some people don't feel like they're so great. Some people feel like they're kind of terrible. A lot of people feel like they're in the middle. Okay, so hopefully this presentation will help. So again, please go to menti.com, put in the code 25289545 to ask questions. At the end, I will go through these questions. There's already 3 questions, which is wonderful. All right, so now that I got to know you, let's move forward with the presentation. So in terms of the presentation, I want to start with a cold open. I want you to just think in your head what you would do in these situations. So imagine you have a bad day already, and then you get Uber Eats, but then your order is wrong. What would you do? Or imagine it's your day off and the house is a mess, but you have no motivation to clean. What would you do? Or imagine the person you're texting suddenly ghosts you. What would you do? Or it's day whatever million of the pandemic and you've never felt so alone. What do you do? Or your parents point out that your temper is getting worse. What do you do? Or you found out that your partner has a bigger past than you thought they did. What do you do? So we're going to talk about these things, especially in the activity at the end. Some of these may be more relevant examples and how they relate to emotion regulation. Because when I think emotion regulation, I think that's a big theoretical term, but all of the things I've just mentioned all have to do with regulating our emotions. So let's briefly talk about emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence, first things first, which I hope you got from the presentation with Bessem, it is not simply being emotional. So the more emotionally intelligent you are, it's not necessarily you're more emotional or less emotional. It's not like someone who has high EI is less emotional, more emotional. It's more of having this intelligence when it comes to emotions. And you've probably heard the term or the acronym EQ, and I just want to point out that it's not necessarily the same. So EQ is emotion quotient, sorry. And the emotion quotient is a way to measure emotional intelligence, according to some people, but it's not the only way to measure it. So it's kind of like there's intelligence and there's IQ. IQ is not the only way to measure intelligence. All right. So in terms of emotional intelligence, there are 3 components. Now, Bessem gave, I think, like 6 components, but I'm going to show you a simpler way of thinking about it. So number one, there is awareness. So the more aware you are of emotions. Number two is usage, how you can use emotions to solve problems. And number three is regulation. So how you can regulate those emotions. Now, he also brought up things like empathy. And I feel like that fits in with awareness. He also brought up motivation. Motivation fits in with using your emotions. And relationship management, which I think has a lot to do with emotion regulation. So that's why I'm kind of using this framework here. Now, I want to give you an analogy to help you understand emotional intelligence, to kind of put all the concepts together, just to get us started. So I want you to think about when we're kids, we learn about fire. Sometimes, the fireman comes in and says, hey, this is a fire alarm, and this is what you do, stay safe. So we are taught awareness of fires and fire alarms and stuff like that. Usage is, hey, if you notice the sign that you were taught is dangerous, like if you notice smoke, then you use the fire alarm for safety, right? So you use what you've learned about these signs to solve problems. And regulation is putting out these fires, staying safe. So I hope that kind of puts it all together: awareness, usage, regulation. Okay. So now what you are hoping for, what you actually care the most about, which is how to foster emotional intelligence. Now, in terms of fostering emotional intelligence, it is absolutely possible. I'm going to give you some real practical tips to help you with all three of these components. And for regulation in particular, there's a lot. So I'm going to give you the option to pick which ones you want me to talk about. And then if there's extra time, we can talk about the ones that I didn't get to, but it's up to you. I want to give you some control, some agency. So let's first talk about awareness and emotional awareness. So the question is there precedent from a spiritual side, from even a biblical side, that it is important to foster emotional awareness? Because let's just see what the Bible says. So for self-awareness, I go to 1 Timothy 4:16. Paul says, keep a close watch on yourself and on the teaching. Persist in this, for by so doing, you will save both yourself and your hearers. So one interpretation is this close watch on yourself is this self-examination, this self-understanding, which can lead to both your own salvation and salvation of others. So there's an argument for self-awareness in the Bible. But I really like St. Anthony's famous quote, which is, one who knows oneself knows God. And that, I think, doesn't get any more clear than that. What about for awareness of others, awareness of other people's emotions, or what I like to call empathy? Well, Romans 12:15, rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep. So it's not a direct commandment here to be empathetic, but for you to rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep, it requires you to at least acknowledge what emotions other people are going through. You have to understand when people are happy, you have to understand when people are not doing so great, and then join with them. So it really speaks to empathy. There's also 1 Corinthians 12:26. If one member suffers, all suffer together. If one member is honored, all rejoice together. And here we see how there is this idea that we are connected, we are all one. And emotions do just that. We tend to join together in our emotions, whether it's a funeral, and we all come together, share these emotions together, or whether it's a celebration where we're celebrating someone's, multiple degrees or something. So emotions can bind us, and it's a good thing. All right. So there's precedent biblically and spiritually for increasing emotional awareness. So how do we increase our emotional awareness? One is to improve our emotional vocabulary. We often think of emotions as existing on a linear plane, that emotions are on one end bad and emotions on the other end are good. That makes sense, right? How are you on this scale? I'm somewhere in the middle today. Okay, well, the reality is that emotions are a lot more complex than this. The truth is that emotions are a lot more like a wheel. So think of it like this. So you have things like happiness, of course. Oops. Oh, I skipped. Surprise. Sorry, my mouse is a little weird. So you have things like happy, sad, surprise, fear, anger, disgust, but you have even more. You have things like feeling joyful, interested, proud, accepted, powerful, peaceful, intimate, optimistic. All of those could fit under happiness. If you're feeling angry, well, what kind of anger? Are you feeling hurt? Are you feeling threatened, hateful, mad, aggressive, frustrated, distant, critical? Here's a big one: fear. Are you feeling humiliated, rejected, submissive, insecure, anxious, scared? All these different reasons, all these different kinds of fear. And it doesn't stop there. You could go a step further. There's all these different emotions that we can learn about, probably words that we've come across before. But when I work with clients, my goal is to help us all learn the wide variety of emotions, because the more accurate we can get, the better we can understand ourselves. And then that opens up a lot more for what we can do to regulate those emotions. So someone who's feeling sad, maybe they're feeling abandoned, or maybe they're feeling ignored. Someone who's feeling disgusted, maybe they're feeling loathing, or maybe they're feeling hesitant, whatever. So let's all increase our emotional vocabulary. Feel free to just Google emotion wheel and you'll get stuff like this. So now you have this greater emotional vocabulary. What's the next step? Emotional check-ins. So with emotional check-ins, this is what I invite you to do. Spend some time on a regular basis just being curious about how you're feeling. Whether you're bored, or especially when you're going through a challenging time or a time when you're noticing something's going on with you, foster curiosity. Make a habit of asking yourself, what am I feeling? That's the first step, and just stick with that. You'd be surprised how much you would learn about yourself just asking yourself that question. What am I feeling? And don't stop there. Make a habit of asking others, what are you feeling? So it seems so simple. It seems so like over simple, but like the more we do this, the more we learn about things. Kind of like scientists who look at something that happens in nature and they're like, wow, this thing that everyone walks by every day, we never stop and think, why is it the case? That's the same thing with emotions. The key here is to do it with non-judgment. Often we do ask ourselves what we're feeling, or someone else what they're feeling, but we approach it with judgment. Like, I don't want to be angry. I shouldn't be angry, or I shouldn't be sad. I should be grateful, or this person has no reason to be upset at me. So I'm going to ask them how they're feeling, but I'm going to criticize what they're feeling. The truth is that it doesn't matter how much you dislike an emotion, you can't change it by disliking it. All emotions are valid. They're all valid pieces of information. It's just information. It's not necessarily, in my opinion, my understanding, a sin necessarily to have an emotion. It's what we do with those emotions, but we will get to that. Let's talk about a myth. So this myth, as Christians, we should always feel joy, as it is commanded, rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Now, by all means, we should be happy, and we have lots of reason to be joyful, especially because we have this relationship with Christ. But sometimes we can maybe misinterpret this verse as feeling like emotions aside from joy are invalid. Like, you know what, I'm feeling sad today, but I shouldn't feel sad because, I have Christ in my life. So you go through that and then you notice, okay, well, I'm not feeling better. Or, hey, someone just passed away and I'm feeling really down and I don't want to do anything, but you know what, I have God, I should be happy. I think you're allowed to feel that. The truth is that we can find joy in the Lord, and other emotions are part of being human. So just look at the Psalms, look at the prophets, look at saints, look at even Christ. Christ himself wept. It's not like he didn't appreciate having his Father in heaven, or emotions are valid. So I like taking things in context. Let's go to the next verse. Let your gentleness be evident to all, the Lord is near. Now, gentleness, we think gentle with other people, but also be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with the fact that you're human, and sometimes you're not going to feel so great, or sometimes you're going to sin. And that's okay. I'm not saying it's okay to sin. I'm just saying it's okay if you are not perfect, and it's okay if you don't feel the exact emotion you want to feel every moment. Okay? So be gentle with yourself, and of course, be gentle with others. So the next thing is safety. We kind of alluded to this. So I want you to imagine opening up to the worst friend in the world. Imagine you had something really bother you, and you opened up to someone that you're like, this was a terrible idea to open up to this friend. Why is it the case? So here are some reasons that you probably would not want to open up to a person. Maybe they don't understand you. Maybe they put in a lack of effort to understand you. Maybe they judged you for what you said. Maybe they invalidated your feelings. Maybe they told you, hey, you know what? You should be grateful because other people have it worse. So let's contrast that to, I know some people don't like this term, but I love it. Safe space, a safe space to talk about your emotions. Give that to yourself at least first, where you do not judge yourself for feeling things. You validate yourself and validate others for what they're feeling. It doesn't have to mean you agree. And the result of that is it can increase your awareness, but also increase your connection, increase how connected you feel with the person, and increase how connected you feel with yourself. Connection with yourself, that sounds strange. A lot of times people are suffering because they feel so disconnected from who they really are or what they're feeling. So I'll let that linger for a second. 1 second. So what happens when we foster awareness? So the fruit of awareness is this. So maybe you're not feeling so great. And then you start to ask yourself, what am I actually feeling? So you peel back a layer and then you notice, you know what, I'm actually feeling quite angry. And then you peel back another layer and then you realize, actually, maybe what's underneath this is I'm feeling quite sad. And I don't like feeling sad, so that's why I'm feeling angry. And then if you peel back another layer, it reminds you of how something similar happened to you when you were a child. And then you start to feel that sadness that you felt as a child. So all this happens by fostering that awareness. I want to obviously mention that this is not something I drew myself. I'm not that good of an artist, so I think the artist's name is Sako Asko. Check them out. But if you want a simpler example, think about Shrek, the wonderful movie, how he says ogres are like onions. And hey, you know what? We are like ogres because we're definitely like onions. We all have layers, and awareness can help us peel back the layers. All right. So next, I want to talk quickly about how to use emotions. So one myth is that emotions have no place in rational decisions. We often think that if I have emotions, it will cloud my ability to make decisions. But the truth is that emotions are valid information. I really like another animated movie, Inside Out, where you have a person that represents each emotion, and each of them has a different opinion, a different reaction to the situation. And you are the person who is kind of outside of them, able to make a decision on how to respond based on the information you get from these different emotions. Think of it like you're the CEO and you have all these advisors who are telling you, you should do this. No, another one is saying, no, do this instead. It's all valid information, but you decide how to respond. So and then, things go well once you make that decision. And research stands behind this, that injury to the emotion center of your brain actually makes it difficult for people to make rational decisions. So keep that in consideration. It's not like emotions necessarily always cloud your judgment. It's just we're trying to ignore certain emotions and pay attention to others. So here are some strategies. So first, you do the emotional check-in, But then the next step is to ask yourself, why am I feeling this? So first you ask yourself, what am I feeling? Then you ask yourself, why am I feeling this? You can also ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to tell me? One way you can ask that is, if this emotion had a voice, what would it say? So it's like, hey, I'm feeling sad. Okay, well, wait, what kind of sadness? I'm feeling rejected. Okay, so what is this emotion trying to tell me? If this emotion had a voice, what would it say? It says, I'm not good enough. Okay, so now we're getting deeper. So another thing you do with other people is ask yourself, why do I think this person feels this way? And again, ask it with an honest mind, not a critical, cynical mind. But when you see other people feeling certain emotions, especially people you're in conflict with, ask yourself, why is this person feeling this way? Not like they have no reason to, but there's obviously a reason why they're feeling a certain way. And you can also ask them, you can ask a person, why are you feeling what you're feeling? And always keep in mind, how will my actions make other people feel? It's something we teach kindergarten kids, but it's worth reminding others. I think we often will forget that. So this sentence, how will my actions make other people feel, in my opinion, is one of the hallmarks of emotional intelligence, is the ability to understand that my actions have impacts on other people's emotions and to predict what other people will feel, and then to choose how to act so that I can get the desired outcome. To me, that's the usage part of emotional intelligence in a nutshell. Now, finally, emotion regulation. I'm not sure. Do we have enough time to talk emotion regulation, or should we just jump to the activity?
Go for it, Justin.
All right.
Oh, important part.
Sorry? The
That's
most important part.
important part.
See, I saved the best for last, right? That's how I keep you in for longer. All right. So what helps us regulate emotions? All right. So recall, first, awareness is very important, to know yourself and to know others. Have that safety. Know how to use the emotion to solve problems, but also keep in mind, what helps us regulate emotions is physical well-being. A lot of people don't necessarily make the connection that if I'm not physically great, that will make my emotions dysregulated or more likely to be dysregulated. So if I'm feeling irritable, how tired am I? How hungry am I? That's where we get the expression hangry. We often try and separate the mind from the body as these two separate independent entities, but they are so connected. So keep that in mind. Take care of your body. But just like any other muscle, spend time working on regulating emotion. It's a practice. It's something that doesn't necessarily just come like that. It's just like a muscle. And ask yourself, what might be helpful? If I'm feeling dysregulated emotionally, let's ask myself, what would help me in this moment? Or if you are with someone and they are struggling to regulate their emotions, a super fun, important question that makes a huge difference is asking them, what do you need? What would help you right now? What would help your emotions? And practice, practice, practice. And one last piece especially is connection. The more connected we are with others, the more it regulates our emotions. And this pandemic is not easy for that. So that's just a basic foundation for emotion regulation. But I decided to give you some tips and tools for specific situations. And you get to pick, because I know we are short on time. I was anticipating that. So I figured I can let you pick at least one if you want, or we can jump to probably the one you're the most interested in, which is relationships. This fourth one is the activity. So if you want, we can just jump to the activity, or if you want, we can talk about 1, 2, or even 3, whatever you want, whatever time you have. We can talk about how to handle feelings of overwhelm, how to handle motivation and lack thereof, and how to fight loneliness. Very, very irrelevant topics that maybe have nothing to do with you. So what do you think? I see some people asking for loneliness, some people asking for feelings of overwhelm. feel free to message me directly, message in the general chat. Feel free to speak out loud and unmute yourself, whatever you want. Or if you want me to just jump to the activity, I'm happy with that. And organizers as well, let me know what you feel like is the best route.
Justin, if we were to pick any of these, are we able to like break out into breakout rooms?
That would be for the relationships. I made breakout activity rooms specifically for the relationships portion.
Got it. I'll let them pick. I'm good with whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments from anyone? I got one vote for. Oh, I got one vote for each. Oh, 2 votes for overwhelmed. Okay, so you have 10 seconds, and then I'm gonna go with overwhelmed. All right, let's go with overwhelmed. Okay. So you're feeling overwhelmed. Who hasn't? So how to overcome overwhelm? The first thing is to stop with these comparisons. I really dislike this saying of like, you should be happy or you should feel better because someone else has it worse. That often does not make our emotions better. It often makes our emotions feel worse. So the first thing is to validate, hey, what I'm feeling, that's okay. Or it's a valid feeling to feel. It's not necessarily okay that I'm feeling this way, but it's valid. It's a truth, even if it's something small. What I'm feeling is valid. The second is this different way of approaching emotions. Now, this is maybe a little bit theoretical. I'm going to explain it, and then I'm going to give you an example that'll help you really practice it. So bear with me if it doesn't make perfect sense at the beginning. So I want you to balance this idea of maybe, so on the one hand, you have this idea of controlling and suppressing your emotions. We're going to ignore that. So I want you to balance, on the one hand, feeling your emotions. So letting yourself just feel what you're feeling, while at the same time, de-identifying from your emotions. All right, so what do I mean by de-identifying from my emotions? Well, often what we do subconsciously, we don't even realize that we do it, is we believe that we are our emotions. I am angry. I am sad. I am happy. But it's kind of like, this is who I am. I am angry. I am sad. I am happy. The idea is to recognize this very novel way of thinking about it, which is that I am not my feelings. So I have the feeling of sadness, but I am not the essence of sadness. Or I'm feeling angry, but I'm not angry. So you're balancing between letting yourself feel it while also recognizing that you are not that feeling. Sometimes you have 2 feelings at the same time. That's proof that you're not a feeling. Sometimes you're happy, but you're sad. It's, bittersweet. So one way to think about it is like a conveyor belt. You have plenty of emotions or even thoughts, and I want you to see those emotions and thoughts as boxes on a conveyor belt. And they are passing by you from whatever, left to right. And you're just standing there. The trick is to think and notice your emotions without any judgment, without saying this is a bad box, this is a good box. Just notice what the boxes are. This is an emotion. And then let the emotion continue on its path. You're just noticing it. If you try and grab the box because it's, oh, this is a really good box, I want to hold on to it, there's going to be other emotions and thoughts that come, and then that's not going to work. Or if you try and fix what's in the box because, I don't like what's in this box, I need to change it, then what's going to happen is all these boxes are going to pile up. It's going to be a mess. So that's one analogy. One last analogy that makes even more sense, in my opinion, is I want you to imagine you're this wonderful little boy sitting on a field, staring up at the sky. And I want you to imagine that your thoughts and feelings are like clouds. and you notice these clouds as they pass by. The thing about clouds is that they will always come and they will always go. Unless, of course, if climate change destroys all clouds, then we're all in a bad shape. But aside from that, those are clouds. Some of these clouds are not as pleasant as others. Sometimes there's rainy clouds, and that is not so great. We don't like that. But rain clouds, they come and they go. We can't do anything to change the fact that it rains. Let's just pray that on your wedding day it doesn't. But some people say it's good luck, but whatever, there's no luck. So some clouds are scary. They're thunder clouds, they're lightning clouds. We can't change the fact that there's a thunderstorm outside if we don't like it. So the whole point is that you notice, but you can't change these clouds if you don't like them. You just notice that they're there. And then, just like clouds in the sky, after you notice what cloud is above you, you choose how to respond to the clouds. So you'll have a whole host of emotions. You'll have some happy emotions, you'll have some sad emotions, you'll have some angry emotions, whatever. You may not be able to change these emotions, but you can choose what to do with that information. If it's rain, you'll get an umbrella. If it's a thunderstorm, you're going to go inside for your own safety. Same thing. If you're feeling sad, you're going to do something to keep you nice and warm and safe. If you're feeling really angry and irritated, you're going to maybe separate yourself from the situation so that you don't get in trouble. See how it all kind of makes sense? So that's the key here, is that it's not necessarily about changing your emotions as it is about changing how you respond to those emotions. And you can do that by letting yourself feel those emotions without any judgment, without trying to change it because you can't, while at the same time recognizing you're not that cloud. You are not your emotions. Your emotions are separate from you, but you can choose how to respond to those emotions. So I hope that's helpful. So what shall we do now?
Let's jump to the activity, Justin.
All right, sounds good. And if ever you are curious about the others, motivation, loneliness, I'm happy to talk about them another time or talk about them to you personally. So don't hesitate to reach out. Relationships, emotion regulation in relationships. Now, for this activity, I want you to consider, or I guess, answer specific questions. I'm going to present you with a scenario, and each group, I planned for 4 groups. Each group will have, I think, 4 questions each, or is it 3 groups? Whatever. You'll have a handful of questions, or sorry, scenarios. And then I want you to answer these questions for each, and you can discuss as a group. So I want you to pretend that you're the person in the scenario. So I want you to ask yourself first, what is my instinctive reaction? Second, what emotion am I feeling? Number 3, are there any underlying emotions? Think about the layers. Number 4, if that emotion had a voice, what is it saying? And then number 5, if my emotion could express a need, what would it be? Now that's the most important question, is if this underlying deep emotion is asking for something or could ask for something, what would it be? And that is such a powerful question. So let me go through an example with you, and then I'll give you your prompts, your scenarios for your groups. So an example is the Uber Eats. So you had a long day at work, so you decide to treat yourself to some delivery. You get some Uber Eats or Skip the Dishes, or what is it? Recourse, whatever. The other one that is pretty cool.
Skip the Dishes.
Not Skip the Dishes. There's one that I think is part of our community. I forgot the name. Oh, I feel terrible now. I try to support local, but I forgot the name. Whatever. So you get something, but then after you pick up the order from the dude, you realize he gave you the wrong order. Not cool. Not cool, Uber guy. So what is my instinctive reaction? I want to yell at the Uber driver. What emotion am I feeling? I'm feeling angry. Are there any underlying emotions? I feel sad. I didn't get the food that I wanted, and I've been having a bad day. If that emotion had a voice, what is it saying? My emotion is telling me that things never go my way. I can't handle life these days. So if my emotion could express a need, what would it be? Well, my emotion is saying, I want my life to go smoothly for once. All I wanted was chicken, not pizza. Although I love pizza, but whatever. So does that, those 5 questions make sense? Yeah, okay, good. So how should we do this? I created a slide for each group. Do you want me to kind of share the questions to each group, or do you want me to put the slides up?
Justin, what I could do is, you know what, put up the slides for each. So you want 3 groups? Is that what you said?
Let me see. I have 1, 2. Oh, I have 4 if people want, but doesn't it, like, yeah, I have enough for 4.
You know what, let's do 3, because I've got 6 people per.
Sure.
Yeah, I've got 6 people per group.
Yep.
The room 1. Here, guys, room 1. Take a picture of.
Here, let me just give you the questions to take a picture of. I can put them
Yeah.
in the chat if that's easier too. So take a screenshot of this, someone.
Yeah, take a screenshot or a picture or whatever, and then I'll put you guys into your rooms. And Justin, what I'll do is I'll make you co-host so that you can jump between rooms.
Oh, that's so fun. I love that. Technologia. All right. My
Everyone,
favorite
I'll
part
make
of
you co-host as well.
Okay, thank you. So you're gonna share so the scenarios cannot be shared per particular group, right? You're gonna share everything right now, correct?
I can just like text it or send it to as a message to people if that's easier. I don't mind sharing it or whatever way you want.
I think if you share it and we take screenshots, because
Sure.
even when we go to the breakout rooms, I'm not sure if
Yeah.
the chat stays the same.
Sure. Okay. So here you go. Here is group 1. And do you want me to go to group
How do we
2?
know who's in group 1, group 2, group 3?
I think let's take a picture of every group, and then because we're gonna find ourselves randomly distributed.
Ah, okay.
Can you just go back to group 1? Sorry, I didn't screenshot that.
Sure, no problem. And remember, there are no right or wrong answers for these questions. Okay, so it's not like you're preparing for your pharmacy exams or whatever. This is as emotions. So you're allowed to say whatever you want in your group, and I invite you to be validating towards the other people in the group about what they think the answers are to these questions. It's not like I have my answers and I'm like, this is actually how you feel. So group 2?
Yeah, group 2.
All right, group 2. Here's group 2. And ready for group 3?
Mm-hmm.
Group 3, here you go. And group 4.
Just group 3. We're just gonna stop at 3.
Stop at 3. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. I will put you guys into rooms, and then we'll take. What do you think, Justin? 5 minutes? 10 minutes?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
5 or 10?
Let's go with 10.
Let's be generous with time.
Okay. So it's 8:56. We'll regroup at 9:05. Enjoy.